Taking the car out for a spin today. I'm just putting the speed limit on, because what I was thinking was, because I'm running higher voltage and I've got the amp set to 120 instead, what this enable will do is let me go to the maximum speed, which according to whatever this 255 is, and it will rack down the amps, so it will maintain a constant speed, and I think that speed is over 50, so that should be enough. So what that will do on motorways and things like that, it will ensure that the amps get racked down, so that I don't burn the motor out at higher speeds for a long duration. So that's the idea. I'm going to see how fast it does take me up to, because I know it does die back the amps as you get towards the top speed. So we'll see how this works, see how it runs with the speed limit on. Now I could take the speed limit down for the Eco if I wanted to. Now I forget what that one was actually set to before, but that would ensure that on Eco mode you're not going above a certain speed and you can just keep your foot to the floor. But we'll see. I'll see how that ends up. I'll see how that gets set later on. But yeah, so that's the idea. I don't think I'm going to adjust anything else. I think the field map end I adjusted before too, because I remember 120 as the start. The end was set to 370. So I'm wondering if I put that up to 400, whether that would pull the full amount of amps when you're accelerating, etc. But I'm not quite sure, so I'm not going to touch that at the moment. So yeah, let's. I'm going to be a bit more conservative with this time, because I don't want to break this car like I did with the blue G-WIZ, pushing it to its max. So hopefully this will give me a reasonable ride, and we're going to go ahead and test it in a moment. How it accelerates down the hill now. just going to have a quick look at the readings on the car and see what it says. little problem with the dash. I don't know how to fix this because the dash doesn't have any support there, but the indicator isn't quite going up because of the dash, so I may have to just hold it if I really do have to indicate. But it's just getting jammed. It's getting jammed in that bit of the dash. So let's take a look at some of these figures. So basically you've got the battery current in the corner, that's what's the starting, that's the battery volts, so you can see how much it pulls the volts down when you accelerate. And then you've got the field current, I'm not quite sure what that one does, field voltage, and then you've got the heatsink temp, so that tells you how hot the heatsink is. You've got the motor arm current, so that tells you how much current's going to the motor, I believe. And then you've got the motor voltage, and then the motor temp. So this shows you how much it's dropping when it's pulling. So let's have a look down here, for example. Let's go further down to where I'm really putting on the accelerator. It drops 4 volts, which is okay. That's not too bad a drop in F mode. But as you can see, the voltage is holding quite well. Now, what I'm most curious about is this side here. So this is the arm current, so this is telling me how many amps I'm pulling at any given time. So that's under acceleration, pulling out the drive. The minus figures are regen, so that's how much power is going back into the battery. So that's continuous. So yeah, it's okay. So then if we go down to where I'm really putting my foot down on the accelerator, let's see if I can find that. So it looks like let's have a look. It looks like it was actually holding at 152 amps on the main road. Looking at it, that's where I braked. Oh no, that's coming into here, I think. This is the stretch. So 147, 152, 163. I know Roger has his set to 150. I'm not sure how that's going to cope on the motor. And then what we've got here is the heatsink temp. But saying that, the motor's not getting too hot. If this is well, not degrees. I'm not sure what I don't know how they factor in this. I don't know what number they go up to. That's something we need to figure out. But the motor temp isn't too bad, to be honest. The heatsink temp goes up a bit, but not by much either. So I think it's not too. I don't think it's pulling too hard on it, thankfully. Okay, so all I need to do is go back to parameters, and then what I want to do is go to speed limit. If I turn that back off, that's the idea. So we've turned that back off. We're going to go back to monitor, and then we're going to go round, just do a circle, and then try it again. Right, let's see what we can do. Oh shit. So I don't know what's going on there, but when you put too much current in at the start, it seems to stop. Unless it automatically cuts the power when it's overloading. So it does seem to be definitely on a speed limit coming back, because when I did this on the way way back up a moment ago without the speed enable. I was hitting 50 mile an hour. So it is holding the speed down quite a lot. So I'm going to keep the speed limit off, I think. So let's have a look here, shall we? So the battery current down here. So as you see, it was pulling a better speed. It was pulling lower amps. On my other one, the reading was about 20 amps more, so it's not an awful lot more, so it's not terrible. But here's the heatsink temperature, and there's the motor temperature. Now I'm not sure what happened when I was accelerating. I'm not sure if it even recorded that. So unless the brushes need sorting, I'm not sure, but it was, you saw that it just cut. So unless that's something to do with the throttle, actually, because I know Rod just said on the higher voltage, he said he adjusted the throttle, but I haven't adjusted the throttle at all, so maybe it's a fault with the throttle on higher voltage batteries. It's not terrible, it's only on acceleration it does it, so maybe it's not something too much to worry about. We'll see. But yeah, as you can see, the figures aren't too bad. That's all going up as expected because I've been running the car for a bit longer. But yeah, so that's everything for now. That's how I think it's okay. It's not running too bad. So what I'm going to do is disable the speed enable, and that will give me slightly better speed when we are. So that will be a better speed, I think. So parameters, speed enable off. So lastly, what I wanted to mention was that I was having a look at this motor temp and heatsink temp. Now I'm wondering if they are actually degrees, because I put my hand on the heatsink and it's barely warm at all, so I wonder if that is genuinely to do with the actual degrees. So that's probably what I want to be watching as I use the car. Now, so that means I could possibly put it up to 150. I'm not sure if I should or if I want to, but that may end up not having too hot a motor looking at this, if it was only going up to 30 degrees. So we'll see. I'll run it a bit more with the speed enable off and see how it functions, see how it drives, and if it does what I need to do for the round here, I'm not going to try and push it any further. So there we go, that's it for now. So I just stopped at a cul-de-sac just off the dual carriageway, and I was just having a quick look at this, because what I realised was on the roundabout and junctions, it's very, very, very hard to pull away quickly, especially in eco. So I've adjusted the acceleration to 0.4 on eco, which is the speed that you pull away on fast normally, and on the forward I've reduced it to 0.2, so there's a lot more. If I pull this off and let's just give it a little, it pulls off a lot quicker, and in F much better, so it's reacting a lot better now. So that just gives me a bit more oomph when I need to get out of a junction, which did seem to be having a problem. So so yeah, I've just sorted that out, and in terms of motor temperatures, when you have a look at this is all driving on the motorway, on the dual carriageway, etc. So if you have a look at the temperatures here, if this actually chooses to focus, there we go. The temperatures weren't that bad, and this was running at the 120 mark. I may actually push it up to 150 then, looking at these temperatures. There's not too much up with them. If you have a look at this here, that's doing okay like that, and that just that enables me to go about 100, and that enables me to go at 45 to 50 on a flat. If I turned it up to 150, then I'll be doing about 50 to 55 quite easily on a flat. So we'll just have to see. Right, what we've actually done, I have put the field map up to 150 because I am curious to see how this runs, a bit like how Roger had his done. So I'm just going to give it a quick run up the dual carriageway, and we're going to see just how well this runs and see how hot it gets, and then we'll have a look at the figures and see if it's working. But this acceleration is much better now that I've turned it to 0.4 on eco and 0.2 on F. So here we go, we're just going to get back up to the dual carriageway. And we will see, we'll see how well it runs. No, I'm definitely recording good. Motor temp is at 24 at the moment. It's turned into a nice day for testing. So let's go. So I'm only in eco at the moment. And it's picking up quite well. And it's going too fast. So we are heading for a hill, so we are going to slow down in a bit. But we are doing 50. 50 no problem. And the motor temp is only at 24. That's really good. Probably going to go up now without going up a hill, but what I'm trying to do effectively is to get this to the same point as what the AC does. So the AC is at, I might be, sorry if I was shouting there, so the AC is at 40 to 45 going up a hill like this anyway, and on flats it could do 50 to 55 no problem. So that's what I was trying to get the DC to go up to, and I'm keeping a close eye on the motor temps. It's gone up to 30, but that's because we're climbing up a hill, so that's not too bad. We're slowly climbing. I'm just going to carry on up this stretch of the dual carriageway and see how it goes. It's only just climbed to 32 degrees, so that's not too bad. So I think the reason it blew it on the blue car was because I had already damaged it by putting it up at 300 amps and ruining all the insulation. But this is we're definitely heading over 50 miles an hour now. We're off the clock. We're doing 55. And the motor temp staying at 29, so 55 miles an hour. That's perfect. Yeah, 55 miles an hour. So I think as long as the temperatures hold out on this is what I'm going to leave it at. And now the motor controller is only at 24 and the motor temp is only at 20, so I think this setting is ideal, and I think this is what I think I'm going to leave it at. So I'm just pulling into Delapre for a moment because I had a tip that there were some decent mushrooms around here, so I'm just going to go and have a little scout and see if I can find them. It's perfect weather for them, and you're allowed to walk on golf courses, so that works. But this is definitely running much better, much better. So yeah, as long as this holds out, we are going to stay at 150 on the field map. So let's just pull over for the time being and check all the specific stats. Right, so as you can see, the highest temperature it got to climbing up that hill was 32, but otherwise it's staying in the perfect range of what it was before on the lower settings. So it only went up to 31, and that was on the serious hill climb, and as soon as you go back down the hill, temperature drops, so that's not a problem. The amps were a little bit higher, but that's not an issue if the temperatures are all fine. Heatsink temperature, that barely went up too. So yeah, we're doing good. I'm happy with that. So yeah, I've just tweaked it so that everything functions perfectly. So what I'm going to do just now is to show you the settings in parameters of what I changed. So let me just quickly highlight what I'm looking for. So if you want to tweak your DC G-WIZ within a reasonable standard, what you need to do is to get one of these little control things from eBay. It's a Curtis controller cable which plugs straight into the controller on the 4-pin socket down there, and then when you first log in you need to press this one here, and that connects you to the system. And what we're looking for is a few options. Forget about everything else because I don't even know what half the other stuff does. So what you want to do first of all is to go to the very start, go to the very top. Now what we want to go to first of all is forward drive. I think that was it. Hang on. No, that's it. Leave those settings as they are, sorry. Go to forward max speed. So usually it's set way below 255, so set that to max setting. Forward acceleration, set that to 0.2. Eco drive, leave as it is, that leave it as is. Eco max speed, put up to 255. Acceleration, 0.4. And then we go right down, speed enable, turn that off. And finally, the only other thing that needs adjusting is field map start. So where there's that purple figure for 150, so you change field map start to 150 and save that, and that should be everything that you need in order to do this. Now the only other thing I may quickly change is reverse acceleration, just so that that's back to a reasonable speed too. So if we turn that to 0.4 also, there we go. So that's all my settings completely done, and the car is nicely tuned to be still within its limits. I think this is great for short drives. I've got to still monitor this on a long drive because my car finally broke 20 miles down the motorway at 200, so it all depends on the mileage, and as I say, I'm not going to be driving that far on this. I might test it going to pick up some filters in Leicester. Yeah. So I might test it when I have to do a long drive to Leicester later this week or the next week. I'll have to rely on 3-pin sockets on Polar, but if I do need to charge, but it should be fine. So I should have about 100 miles range either way, so I should get there and back, no problem. So yeah, this is the settings to do for tweaking your G-WIZ. You do this at your own risk, because I'm not certain whether this is going to affect it in any adverse way over time. Roger's been doing it, he's had no problem, so my guess is it's fine as long as you monitor this status of things. So what I need to do at some point is to monitor this on a much longer drive and do maybe say 20 miles and have a look at the motor temperatures, see how it's working. As long as it stays below 30, I reckon below 40-ish, then I think we'll be good. So that's all for now. I'm going to go for a wander around the golf course and have a look for some mushrooms.